Mysteries come in all forms, numerous shapes and sizes, from something serious, like a crime, to the polar opposite, such as a group of unidentified people who decorate a tree off of Interstate 17 in Arizona each Christmas. In the last few years, the internet has taken an interest in songs that don't have a known band or musician associated with it, such as Like the Wind, a song taped off of the radio in the 1980s, and nobody has been able to identify its source. For this video, however, in a mysterious music special, we go one step further and examine an entire album. Here is Deathmetal by Pachinko. Thanks to Ace's reposts for requesting this album to be covered. If you have a suggestion on a mysterious piece of music you'd like to see covered in this series, please leave a comment below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell, and spread the love. Our story begins on July 21st, 2016, when a user on 4chan posted about a mysterious album they found at an Oxfam shop and were unable to find any sort of information about it on the internet. Even with super obscure bands, you might expect to find some old MySpace page or mention in some forum. Does anybody recognize the album? Nobody recognized it by the cover, but they asked OP to upload it. OP did, and while the quality of the disc's condition was terrible, the quality of the music was considered hauntingly beautiful. Thus begins the search. Based on the title of the album, you'd expect the music to be somewhat heavy and dark, such as actual death metal, or, as the OP suggested, either noise pop or vaporwave. Instead, underneath the fuzzy crackling of disc rot, often the result of physical or chemical deterioration, CDRs being especially susceptible to it, which this copy of Death Metal was on, was a dreamy, gentle, and quiet contradiction. It wasn't just the circumstance in which this album was found, or the mystery or the music that intrigued people. People didn't know if the band's name was supposed to be ironic, the same way their song Death Metal was quiet and slow. Was Panchiko a reference to Pachinko? Pachinko is a type of mechanical game, basically Japan's answer to slot machines. A Japanese reference would certainly match the album's cover, taken from chapter 13 of a manga titled Mitnabakura. If Pachinko is Japan's answer to slot machines, then a manga is Japan's answer to a comic or graphic novel. Speaking of animation, one of the songs, entitled Laputa, seemed like a reference to the mysterious floating city in the 1986 Japanese animated fantasy adventure film Castle in the Sky. Yet, while the album artwork, band name, and even one of the 4 tracks showed influence from Japanese culture, and despite the interruptive hisses of disc rot, it was clear that the lyrics were English. Other things supporting that Pachinko wasn't from Japan include the music's shoegaze style, plus the sticker with the pound sign, and some other terminology used in the songs. Everything suggested that the mysterious Owain, Andy, Sean, and John were members of a local band to one of the UK's Oxfam chains. Another clue that supported this, aside from the Oxfam sticker, was the gift aid item number. Although there was no way to search for who a particular gift aid number belonged to, it confirms that death metal was donated, which pieces together how it got to the store in the first place. Someone deliberately gave the album to the store. This raised the theory that the finding of death metal was fake, just an elaborate way for the 4chan OP to intrigue people into listening to his music. A patient form of guerrilla marketing. After all, in 16 years, there was no trace of the album's existence, so it was possible that OP could have added a bit crushed track over the music, adding a little spice to what would otherwise just be another indie album, and then slapped a 2000 copyright in the year 2016. But if it wasn't fake, then who were the musicians behind Panchiko? As is with many music projects that don't end up catching traction, it was probably some aspiring musicians in a garage band, secondary school kids perhaps. Regardless, there was plenty of people who were determined to find an answer, whether the album was real or fake, and even more listeners who just enjoyed what they were hearing. Death metal had taken on an overnight cult status. Then, in January 2020, the Discord server dedicated to solving the mystery caught a most unusual break. The Oxfam shop that the disc came from was thought to have been the Southampton location, so a former user of the Discord group emailed that particular Oxfam location, but they denied ever having death metal in their stock. The Discord server then found that the numbers on the sticker may have actually pointed to an Oxfam in Nottingham instead. Between Owain, Andy, Sean, and John, only one of their names really stood out. Owain was unique enough for Discord users Toad and Zod to attempt to contact all the Owains in the Nottingham area. They reached an Owain via a defunct music page, and on January 20th, this Owain confirmed his involvement in Panchiko. I woke up one Tuesday morning to a strange message on social media asking me if I was the singer from Panchiko. It was on a music page I had not updated for years. I almost did not answer. Funny how the smallest things can completely change your outlook on life. After about a week and a half later, Owain had gotten in contact with Andy and Sean, and the three of them joined the Discord server for a little Q&A. Acting on the unexpected interest in the Panchiko project, Andy, who had since become a mastering engineer, managed to locate the masters that he thought were lost forever, and death metal was officially re-released in high quality. Also included in the re-release of death metal were the 3 tracks from the unreleased EP Kicking Cars. Since some searchers had grown accustomed to the data corruption sound, and Owain and Andy actually preferred this version, the disc rot versions were also included as the 4 final tracks of the re-release. A great way for the band to snapshot their appreciation. It's not every day you find out you have a cult following on a project you had forgotten about. There's also something to be said in this current world of streaming, loudness war, and needing the shiniest sound imaginable, that a collection of degraded songs didn't stop people from listening and connecting to it. Songwriting quality always prevails over production quality. Although their last names haven't been revealed because they still prefer to be anonymous, Owain, Andy, and Sean gave a particularly detailed interview with Julian Roy of Corduroy Threads. Unfortunately, John has yet to be located. But when he is, he'll be amused by the unexpected following Panchiko suddenly has. In the meantime, the other 3 members fleshed out some of the band's history, which began in 1998. Andy said the band's name indeed came from Pachinko, but was accidentally misspelled and it just stuck. Though it went without saying that the track The Eyes of Abad was a reference to Frank Herbert's Dune, Laputa was indeed a reference to Castle in the Sky. Owain says Laputa is about a yearning for something you thought was lost and you would never see again. I was 7 or 8 when Laputa was broadcast on British television. It was in French. I had no clue what was going on, but it changed my life and I fell in love with anime and manga. This is actually very fitting to the story of death metal because even though a young Owain didn't let a language barrier interrupt his enjoyment for Castle in the Sky, the fans of Panchiko's music didn't let the disc rot prevent them from enjoying the album. In the early years, Pachinko had once entered a battle of the bands at a bar called Berlin's in Nottingham, but were disqualified when it was revealed they were minors. Between 1999 and 2000, the quartet recorded Deathmetal, only producing 30 to 40 copies that were passed out to friends and family and sent to music journalists and record labels. And aside from Fierce Panda Records, nobody responded. Due to Pachinko never really having a master plan for how their music would end up seeing the light of day, when Fierce Panda Records showed interest, the band realized that getting from London for gigging to going all the way back home in Nottingham, it just wouldn't be practical. As is the story with most bands, eventually all members parted ways. Unlike most bands, however, an unexpected appreciation from random people at random locations on the internet allowed for Pachinko to be reunited under these incredibly unique circumstances. And even though they don't plan to have a formal reunion, a backlog of their unreleased material is finally seeing the light of day thanks to the interest of the listeners. And this just goes to show that when one mysterious music case is solved, it opens the door for so many other songs that could have been buried forever. Between the OP on 4chan, to the listeners spreading it all over the internet, to the endlessly inquisitive music detectives, to the band itself, the power of sharing music can't be denied. As Owain himself said, "Isn't music meant to bring people together?" When I found out people had generally made friends and started their own musical journeys, not accepting what mainstream media outlets churn out, it blew me away. There are many more music mysteries to identify and many additional songs to come out of the cases being solved. So, as always, keep your mind, eyes, and ears open, spread the magic of music, and thanks as always for watching.